Hi everyone, we are from Group 5 and today we will be presenting our group assignment titled The Impact of Microplastics on the Environment. This topic is very relevant today as microplastic pollution is becoming a serious global issue affecting both nature and human health.
So, what actually are microplastics? Microplastics are a form of plastic pollution that originates from a wide range of sources. Due to their small size, they are easily ingested by wildlife and even humans. They come in the form of small plastic particles and are mainly found in marine and terrestrial environments. Next, let's take a look at the types of microplastics. There are two types of microplastics, which are primary and secondary microplastics. First, let's take a look at primary microplastics. They are intentionally manufactured to be small. They come from personal care products, industrial abrasives, and pre-production plastic pellets known as nurdles. Next, let's take a look at secondary microplastics, which are formed through the breakdown of larger plastic items due to environmental factors such as UV radiation and biological degradation. They come from plastic bags, bottles and containers, synthetic textiles, shedding fibers during washing, and tire wear particles. Next, let's take a look at the physical and chemical characteristics. For physical characteristics, microplastics are less than 5 millimeters in diameter, and they come in the shape of fragments, fibers, beads, films, and foams. They are often colored due to dyes, and their density depends on the type of polymer. And for chemical characteristics, there are many types of polymers, which can include polyethylene, polypropylene, polystyrene, polyethylene terephthalate, and polyvinyl chloride. They may also contain additives, such as plasticizers, flame retardants, stabilizers, and colorants. And microplastics can also absorb environmental pollutants.
There are three types of production of microplastic. First, we have industrial sources. Second, domestic and consumer sources. And lastly, the degradation of larger plastic. First, industrial sources. Plastic pellets, also known as nurdles, are small plastic particles used as raw materials in plastic manufacturing. These can be spilled and end up in the environment during production or transport. Next, microbeads. These were once commonly found in cosmetic and cleaning products. Although many countries have banned them, they were a significant source of microplastic pollution in the past. Lastly, industrial abrasives. These are used in air blasting and surface cleaning operation and can release microplastic particles into the environment. Now, let's look at domestic and consumer sources. Synthetic textiles like polyester and nylon shed tiny microfibers every time they are washed. These fibers are often escape water treatment system and enters waterways. Personal care products such as face scrub, toothpaste, and body wash once contained microbeads. While they have been banned in many countries, they contributed heavily to microplastic pollution before those bans. Finally, car tire wear. As vehicles move, tiny rubber plastic particles are released from tire and accumulate in the environment. Lastly, degradation of larger plastic into microplastics. First, photodegradation. When plastics are exposed to sunlight, ultraviolet, or UV radiation, it weakens the chemical bonds in the plastic polymers, causing them to crack and fragment. Next is mechanical abrasion. Natural forces like waves and sand and wind physically wear down plastic objects, breaking them into tiny particles over time. Then, we have chemical and biological degradation. Oxidation along with microbial activity further contributes to the breakdown of plastics, especially when they are exposed to heat, moisture, or bacteria. Some common plastic items that undergo this kind of degradation include plastic bags, bottles, straw, fishing nets, and gear, and various types of packaging materials. These items may start off large, but they don't stay that way. As they degrade, they become a major source of microplastics, polluting oceans, rivers, and even the air we breathe.
The analytical methods for microplastic detections, sampling techniques, Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy, mass spectrometry, and the last one is Raman spectroscopy. There are three primary sampling strategies for aquatic sampling, which are selective, bulk, and volume reduced. Selective sampling for microplastic involves directly collecting microplastic items from the environment, like picking them out with the naked eye. Although this process is simple and straightforward, but the main disadvantage of this sampling strategy is that the size limitation of detectable microplastic is high and less obvious items are easily overlooked, particularly when they are mixed with other debris. For the bulk samplings, it refers to collecting the entire samples without reducing its volume during the sampling process. In theory, all microplastics within the samples, regardless of their size and visibility, can be captured using these methods. However, bulk sampling only allows a relatively small amount of sample to be collected, which may negatively affect the representativeness of the samples. The volume reduced samplings is refers to reducing the entire volume of a bulk sample by fast filtration during sampling and preserving only a small fraction of sample for a subsequent analysis. Therefore, volume reduced sampling is advantageous for covering large quantities or areas of samplings during sampling. Now, we move to the common instruments for the microplastic detections. Fourier transform infrared spectroscopy is a vibrational spectroscopy technology that can provide information on chemical bonds and functional groups in samples. It can only be used for the identification of microplastic above 20 micromillimeter. Raman spectroscopy is another vibration spectroscopy technique based on inelastic scattering of light. Besides, Raman spectroscopy can be used to identify the microplastic below 20 micromillimeter. And for the major common instrument for the microplastic detection is mass spectrometry. The tools is important method for the detection of polymers in microplastic. Mass spectra of polymers can provide some important information on the structure, molecular weight, degree of polymerizations, main functional groups, and end group structure of polymers.
Now, moving on to sources and contamination of microplastics. Sources of microplastics: terrestrial sources, agriculture, use of plastic mulch, films, and polymer coated fertilizers that degrade into soil. Next, textile fibers, synthetic fabrics such as polyester, nylon, shed microfibers during washing, which enter wastewater. Urban runoff and littering, plastic waste from packaging, bags, and wrappers degrades and washes into waterways. Lastly, industrial spillages. Plastic resin pellets, noodles, used in manufacturing can spill during production and transport. Okay, next, sources of microplastics. Aquatic sources. Firstly, marine debris. Abandoned fishing nets, which is ghost gear, plastic bottles, and containers break down in oceans. Then, wastewater treatment plants fail to fully filter out microplastics from domestic and industrial effluent. Lastly, boating and shipping. Paint flakes and plastic residues from ships enter marine environments.
Here is the impact on wildlife from the microplastic. There is three impact that we can see, which is habitat degradation, biodiversity loss, and microbial imbalance. For habitat degradation, microplastic accumulate in soil, sediments affecting natural system. For biodiversity loss, ingestion by aquatic life lead to injury, starvation, and death, reducing the population. Microbial imbalance, soil and aquatic system may shift due to plastic toxicity, affecting nutrient cycling and ecosystem service. From the picture, we can roughly see if people are throwing their plastic into the sea and aquatic life, the particle from the sea can be eaten by the fish, and fish can be eaten by the seabirds. This can be happen so many times, reducing the population because when fishes are eating so much microplastic, it will reducing the population and aquatic life will be imbalanced. Here are the videos how microplastic affecting aquatic life and even human life. So many plastic on the sea will reducing the population and affecting our aquatic life. For example, fishes and jellyfish and so many other aquatic life. In human health concern, there is three concerns that we can see, which is ingestion, inhalation, and dermal contact. For ingestion, there is contaminated seafood, honey, bottle that can cause gut inflammation or disruption of gut. For inhalation, coming from indoor air, which is textile and furniture, can cause respiratory distress, inflammation, and potential lung penetration. For dermal contact, coming from personal care products, occupational exposure can cause potential skin irritation and causes redness and itching to our skin. There is still a lot of effect of microplastic in humans that came from the itchy, which is can contact your brain, your lung, your heart, your liver, your pancreas, and so many.
To conclude, microplastics are tiny plastic particles that come from both industrial products and the breakdown of larger plastics. They are harmful to the environment and living organisms, including humans. We believe that with proper research and awareness, we can work together to reduce microplastic pollution and protect our planet for the future.